Everyone for coming out. My name is Steve Poikinen. I host a number of shows with this young lady right here, Gloria Jones, and we're here today because we would like to address whomever is here as either a member of the media or here as an organizer about what is being done to that man, Julian Assange. Tomorrow marks 2 years since Julian Assange was illegally and violently trafficked out of the Ecuadorian embassy. In those 2 years, he spent an inordinate amount of time, nearly every day, in solitary confinement for 23 and a half hours a day. For a period of at least 6 months, he was denied access to his attorneys. When they finally gave him a computer so that he could possibly participate in his own defense, the keys were glued down. I kind of want everybody, just for a moment before we get started, to think about where you were 2 years ago and what you've done in the last 2 years. Mundane, good, bad, whatever. And as you're thinking about that, reflect that Julian Assange has spent most of that in solitary confinement in the Guantanamo Bay of the United Kingdom, Belmarsh Prison, where he was denied winter clothes during the coldest months of the year, had to stuff books in his windows in order to help try and keep a little bit of heat. It just kind of let that roll around in your head a little bit. What you've been up to over the last 2 years. Glory, would you like to make any remarks real quick and just kind of broad stroke why this matters to press and to activists and organizers?
Hi.
Yeah. Damn.
I'm Glory. I'm a college student and I co-host a show called Flow Newsday with the gentleman to my left here. And basically when you read the indictment for this case that was officially unsealed 2 years ago, starting tomorrow pretty much, it criminalizes the act of journalism itself through the use of the Espionage Act. Because in the indictment, what they talk about is source protection, which is something that all journalists engage in. They talk about the soliciting of information, the sharing and publishing of classified information, when in reality, it's information that's guaranteed to us by the public interest, because we are entitled to know what our government is doing with our taxpayer dollars, with the money and support we give them. So, pretty much, we're all screwed. Activists especially, because in this modern day and age, what we rely on is the ability to be able to share information, to do stuff like record the cops at protests and share that and spread that around to possibly warn other people. We need to be able to publish information that is adversarial to the government, because what is activism if you're not challenging the system in some way? So to do that, you need to be able to share information that does just that. And this indictment against Julian Assange is going to criminalize that. This indictment is part of a series of moves that the national security state and the empire is making to try and rob us of all of our agency. And we can see the effect of it already. Glenn Greenwald in Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro literally made a similar indictment against him, and the only reason why it didn't work was because the precedent from the Assange case wasn't established yet. Here in LA, we literally had 9 journalists arrested just a couple weeks ago in the Echo Park Lake demonstrations, coming off a trend of overall harassment and arrests of journalists increasing, according to the US Press Freedom Tracker. And one of the epicenters for the worst treatment of journalists was right here in LA at the hands of LAPD and LASD. So we see what happens when journalism is criminalized, what happens when the flow of information and our ability to engage in news gathering activities is threatened, because it comes back here through a full circle, which is why we need to start with securing our right to share, solicit, and publish information, being able to do journalism, because we all do it to some degree, and we all have to do it in order for our causes to have solutions, and in order for us to be able to engage in any kind of activism and almost every kind of organizing, pretty much. So yeah, I'll hand it off to Rachel.
Is my turn now?
Yeah, you go ahead and do what you want to.
All right.
Do what you want to do.
Give me some slack in the microphone, guys.
Give me some slack. Yeah, well, thank you for inviting me here, Pasta and Steve, and everybody working with you, and Glory. Thank you so much. And the youth. I come to you as a high school teacher, and I want to say we need to be talking to the high schools, the college students and little post-college. You're on fire, you're on the streets, but as a high school teacher and as the mom of a high school student, you can, I mean, talk about lies, talk about exposing lies, the absolute lies that go on throughout the educational system. And not only outright, but lies of omission would make your head spin. I was just telling my friends over there at the table, I'm the mom of an 11th grader. So she is learning US history in an American high school. So you know what she's learning. And I want to let you know, every April throughout the United States, all 11th graders, all 16, 17-year-olds are learning about the Cold War. And just last week, I was on break myself, and my daughter called me into her room. She says, Mom, you got to listen to this. And we heard the class lesson on Joe McCarthy. And I was telling my friends over there, you couldn't quite tell by the way it was talked about, you know, whether this guy was a complete fanatic or not. And basically what the teacher got the children to repeat was Christian democracy, atheist communism. Christian democracy, atheist communism. And I sat there a little bit out of my mind and realized, my God, no wonder our people don't know anything, our public, because they all come through this school system. So all the middle America, the moms, the supporters of veterans, the supporters of middle America need to understand that, you know, these lies that are so deep in our country are absolutely affecting your life, your children. It is interesting that when Trump was president and then not president but thought he still was, and you know, was doing his thing on January 6th, that a lot of the kind of promotion of to middle America was in support of veterans. Sometimes I find that the rhetoric coming out of that side is talking about like supporting the people who have suffered because of US wars, American parents also. And I found like kind of a lot of sympathy on top of a bed of lies. So the point I'm making now before I get directly into this case is that there is about this deep, I feel, this deep of reserve of legitimacy in the US government for people who have truly suffered from American wars in the United States. You give them truth, you bring it to them, and you bring it to them in a way that we are on their side, then they will turn. What we need to be able to do is reach this quote unquote middle America with this turn. So I'm coming to you as an organizer. We just put it on, please look it up on YouTube, with the Cold War Truth Commission. And what we're doing is we're saying that for the past 150 years, every US adventurism overseas has been a way to shove a development model down the US and the world's throats that we're finding now is not the development model we need. We are in the Middle East for the past 60 or 70 years, not just 10 years, not just 15, 20, for that very reason. I mean, if we didn't have people exposing the lies and exposing the truth, what we need to do is expose the truth, right? Is what Julian Assange is doing. And for me, it's expose the truth by any means necessary. And we need to have people understand that they need the truth in order to, quote unquote, set them free. And so what we're doing is, one of our speakers was Dan Ellsberg. And the great whistleblower who is completely, yes, who is completely, obviously, on the side of Julian Assange. And had the politics of the day been different, he'd be in jail, you know, and he wouldn't have had his life. And thank you so much for Stephen for bringing it real. What have we been able to do, both beautiful and active and everything, for the last 2 years that Julian has not been able to do, nor Chelsea, nor, and so it's, you know, we have to ask ourselves that not only was Julian Assange exposing these lies, but he did it in the name of soldiers. He did it for soldiers. Soldiers gave him information that said, please get this information out. You know they are. We know, because Iraq Veterans Against the War, Veterans for Peace, all the veteran peace groups that are burgeoning because of the crimes of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, are coming with this plea of people who have sworn allegiance to our wars, but know deep inside that they are wrong. So I ask you, Caitlin Johnston just came out recently and basically said there's no truth without Julian. And again, I bring up Dan Ellsberg as the quote-unquote most dangerous man in America. I mean, who do you want to believe? Those people who risk their lives and risk their freedom to give us the truth? Or are we going to listen to someone like Wolf, what's his name, Wolf Blitzkrieg? I'll call him Wolf Blitzkrieg. Wolf Blitzkrieg of CNN. I mean, exactly, CNN, who was founded on making the Iraq war into like a media circus. So again, truth by any means necessary, and I'm going to end with actually an action item. I'm not here as representing Code Pink right now, but I organize with them. And some of you might know, anyone know Code Pink Congress every Tuesday night, right on? So Tuesday, and let everyone know, April 27th, Julian Assange, in this case, will be the subject of that Tuesday. And what they do is it's a 1-hour wonderful expose and background. You get a lot of information, and then it's an action item, and they have you contact the White House or your senator or your representative, and the action item will actually be on the Espionage Act, to drop it, and to also drop the extradition orders against Julian Assange. So action will be taken, and thank you all again for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Rachel. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow, and I just want to get that out of the way. I think it's going to be a really good time. Activism hinges on our ability to communicate our message to people who may not know it, who may not agree with it, who are outside of our immediate sphere. The only way that works is with a free press, a free and open internet. A society is only as free as its press. And right now, we have that on 23.5-hour-a-day lockdown. I have a lot of conversations with, not necessarily with organizers, but with rank and file activists who don't understand why we do what we do, or why it looks like we're solely focused on Julian Assange. And it's not that we don't have any concern for Julian as an individual, because he's a human being. He's a husband, or partner and father, and a son and a brother, and he's being tortured. His civil rights stamped on, his human rights stamped on, his legal rights are non-existent. There was a directive from the CIA to get a live feed of all of his meetings with his attorneys while he was in the embassy. There was a separate server set up for that. The president of the security firm, David Morales from UC Global, is going to go to prison over this. Mike Pompeo will probably never get indicted. But should. For so many reasons. Yeah, in case anybody didn't realize that Mike Pompeo is a massive war criminal and deserves all the prison. The reason that I bring that up is to say that, you know, yes, these things have happened. Yes, this man is being tortured. Yes, all of his rights have been taken away from him. And, not but he is the proverbial head on the spike in front of the castle. He's the warning to each and every one of us, to everyone who would dare publish information that exposes not crimes, yeah, sure, but what embarrasses the U.S. government? Because ultimately the United States doesn't give a goddamn about what crimes they've committed. They care about being caught.
Yeah. Exposed.
And Julian Assange and WikiLeaks did what no other outlet has done. They shortened the amount of time between whistleblowers obtaining information vital to the public interest and the public having access to that information. The only major outlet with a 100% accuracy rating. Never had to issue a retraction or an apology. Never once has anything that they printed been inaccurate. That's huge. That's incredible. Nobody else at that level can boast that success. And yet, one of the more frequent arguments that we hear is, well, is he even really a journalist? Yes, absolutely. It's been established many times that Julian Assange and WikiLeaks engage in journalistic activity every single day that they operate as a publishing outlet. It matters to all activism that we have the ability to see what our government does without it being spun to us, without somebody telling us how we should think or feel about it, or without somebody telling us what it means to the national security state. And why aren't we more concerned about how this affects national security? What affects national security is our ability to have a representative republic, right? If it's supposed to be, I know that's what the marketing says. I don't believe the marketing, by the way, at all. I don't. But the marketing says we're supposed to be a representative republic. If that's the case, each and every one of us have an obligation to hold not just the government accountable for what they have done, but the media accountable for how they've facilitated it. And I hope that that's why we're all here. I don't want to take up too much time before we bring up Pasta and Fee. We're going to have a large question and answer portion of this, and I definitely want to hear from everybody else that came. So with that, I'd like to thank everyone for showing up. And again, I mean, we're in the middle of a war right now that at no point I can think of in the history of, modern society has a country sought international jurisdiction over the press, has sought to criminalize source protection and investigative journalism. Certainly not any country that boasts to be free. These are very dangerous things. These are very dangerous times, and I'm not trying to scaremonger or anything. I'm just trying to let everybody know that what happens to Julian happens to all of us. Each and every, we are all Julian Assange at this point. It's not, I don't know. It's no longer it's no longer something that you can speculate on. It's already happening. And I want to thank everybody for being here, and I want to thank you for helping us in this fight, because the more people we can help make aware of what's going on to journalism, to the truth, the better odds we have of being able to do something about it. So yeah, thank you guys. Gloria, did you want to say anything else, or are you gonna try and bring up pasta and feet?
I don't know. Yeah? I can follow up to that really quick, because as it stands, the decision in the extradition case is that Judge Vanessa Barresa ruled not to extradite Julian Assange, but she literally agreed with every other point the prosecution made about Julian Assange, going so far as to dismiss the UC Global spying case with the CNN article. Yeah, a CNN article in court. So as it stands, there has been a precedent established that journalism is in serious, grave danger right now, and it has a very much on the ground effect as well. When me and Johnny are filming at a protest and we can't get close to the cops to see their badge numbers, when they have to shove us behind their lines and keep us like 10 blocks away from the whole protest, for refusing to protect our news gathering activities, that's coming from the precedent established by this case. When we can't fight back against the bias put forth by mainstream media about the unhoused community in LA, because that's information that goes against the official narrative of that issue. That is coming from this case. There's so many other cases where we need to be able to confront biases with the truth, where we need to be able to film cops and film events at protests and just film, period, and be able to share that. There's so many cases where we need to be able to communicate with each other securely. Just those small things that happen all the time in activism, they will get criminalized by this case, because there's a notion that journalists are only at CNN, they're only at MSNBC, they're only wearing nice suits and ties and got the perfect mics and perfect circular desks and all that mess. But in reality, each and every one of us does journalism. Each and every one of us does an act of journalism, and this indictment will criminalize that. So it's imperative that we fight against that, because it's in serious danger right now.
Absolutely. Pasta.
Okay. Pasta, feed.
You want to finish up? One more thing?
I'm good. You guys, thank you.
You sure?
Okay, well, thanks, Rachel, for speaking and welcoming the fam. Fiorella Isabel and Craig Pasta Jardula.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Sit here.
When I say his name, say Julian Assange. Say his name.
Julian Assange!
Come on now, say his name.
Julian Assange!
Give me a fuck censorship right now. Say fuck censorship.
Fuck censorship!
Say fuck censorship.
Fuck censorship!
Hi everybody, thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Slow News Day. You guys were awesome. Thank you for Action for Assange for putting this up. Thank you, Roar Media, for making the drive, for coming down. Thank you to Sleepy Josh and Johnny Tsunami, who do so much. Thank you for Rachel Brunke. You know how much I love you. You know how much I love your work. You've been a big inspiration, and thank you so much for joining us right now. We had this idea, before we get into the actual details, of taking our movements and joining them together to somewhat emulate a general strike, to get out there in the streets and do that. So, good piece of the puzzle today. It's going to be great tomorrow. We're going to have a lot of people out there. So, yes. However, you know, when we have little panels or little meetings like this coming on, it sometimes gets upsetting that we don't have thousands of people out there for Julian Assange. I mean, this is something serious we've talked about for a long time. And ever since we've started the fuck censorship movement, and the only word I thought appropriate to use in front of the word censorship was fuck, because it is serious. I mean, in this particular country, we would think in America that our basic human rights is our freedom of speech, is our freedom of the press to hold the government accountable. And it's slowly but surely being taken away from us. And once they take this away from us, it's game over. It's no more, whatnot. But I think the reason why we're doing this right now is to kind of elevate the work that needs to be done in the streets, the work that needs to be done on the internet. Funny today, fam will tell you, we've gotten censored again. Actually, we received a strike today and we can't live stream for a week. Today, as we're coming up here, the combo couch was struck down. But why? What are we doing? What are we saying? The powers that be are the ones that we need to look upon, the ones we need to look up to and realize how we are all getting played. To me, I think the biggest hurdle that we have to deal with is some of the people who have been duped, who have been sheep herded, who've had the wool pulled over their eyes to think that this sort of censorship is okay. It's not. Going over some of the old quotes of the past, I'm just going to start with Noam Chomsky, what he said like this. He says, if we don't believe in the freedom of expression for the people we despise, we don't believe in it at all. And Frederick Douglass once said that if we were to suppress speech is a two-way street. You're suppressing the person saying something and you're just suppressing the person hearing something. And these are things that we need to take into account. So before I hand the microphone over to Fiorella, because I know she's got a lot to say and stuff like that, and I'll go to my other quotes at the end, I challenge everybody in this room to have a little thicker skin. And I don't mean that in just a kind of like meaningless way. But we got to get in there. We can't be offended by what is said about us, the way we are casted out, the cancel culture that the elites have put into play, that if you listen to what that person has to say, then you're evil is just like him, that you're sympathizing for his needs, that you're sympathizing for his ideology. Nothing could be further from the truth, ladies and gentlemen. When we leave this place today, when we go out there, when we go to the streets, I encourage you, talk to people who think differently than you. That's what censorship is all about. They don't want us to talk. It's not that it's just anti-intellectual. It's also that they're making sure that we're fighting with each other. My man Charles Barkley said the other day, he said it loud and he said it proud. Republicans and Democrats alike want us hating each other. They don't want us realizing who is pulling the strings and who's doing what. They attain that goal by censoring us. Censoring is a two-way street because they're not just silencing our voices here in this room, they're putting forth their voice. So we got a lot of work to do. You started by coming out today by doing that work, but let's do that. Let's get in there, let's get a little greasy, let's have a little tough skin, let's listen to people who think differently than us, and let's persuade them to understand that freedom of speech is one of the most important things that we have. Because once they take away our voice, they take away everything. Here's Fiorella.
I learned from you. So just to keep everyone on tabs, we received a strike from YouTube to be unable to live stream for a week because we dared interview Ryan Christian from The Last American Vagabond, who has been censored on YouTube, censored on Patreon, censored pretty much everywhere. And all we talked about was questions. We asked questions to somebody who is apparently such a threat that we can't even interview him. We talked about COVID, we talked about imperialism, we talked about what happened on January 6th, we talked about the things that we experienced, and we came to a conclusion that was similar to one another's without ever having had a conversation before. Ryan's interview was one of my favorites because he was just having a conversation with us and he was really honest and he made sure to say, this is just what I believe in, but here's what it is. And if that's not allowed, I'm wondering if people realize how dangerous that is. Because as Julian Assange is in prison right now for telling the truth about what the West has done, specifically the United States of America, regarding our disastrous wars, our imperialism, our coups all over the world. And simultaneously, you put that into effect to what happened after January 6th, when we were there and we said from the very beginning that that event was going to be used to crush dissent, to go attack the voices of dissent, the voices of truth that are actually doing real journalism. Because if you're doing real journalism right now, there is no way you're not going to be at odds with the state narrative. It's just impossible. The state narrative says one thing, we say another, because it's not about being a contrarian for a lot of these people that attack us. It's about the truth. And the truth has nuance, and the truth is the truth no matter who says it. So if somebody that I don't like is going to say something that's valid, it's about what that person said. It's not about if I like that person or not. And unfortunately, a lot of the people that we started out in activism with have let themselves be led astray towards this hyper-partisan, I pick team A, you pick team B, blue versus red mentality that just isn't real. The real fight here, the real war, as Steve said, we are at war right now. That real war that exists is a war between the people and those in power who are attempting to pit us against one another so they get away with doing everything that they can to crush anything that controls, that counteracts their narrative, right? And so we are living proof of that. Not only have we been demonetized, we have been now unable to live stream for a week. And on top of that, we were at the Capitol when those riots happened. We completely contradicted the narrative that it was an insurrection, that it was a coup. And we still do, we still stand by that. That's not what happened. And we were demonetized subsequently, but the mainstream media uses our footage openly. The United States government, the Department of Justice, is using our footage in an indictment to pin a death on for Ryan Sicknick, who was killed. And they were trying to first say the New York Times published a infactual post spreading disinformation about that, how Ryan Sicknick was bashed on the head with a fire extinguisher. They had to then retract that. And then they're trying to say now that bear mace is the reason for that officer's death. So they can freely use our content. They can monetize our content. We aren't allowed to use our content. We get, like these little things that they put. They'll say, oh, this is Russian propaganda, or this was obtained by hacked materials, or this has, or they'll say like QAnon is infactual, or the election was called, and all these things that they put in our videos, which are full of actual factual on the ground coverage, and if not, with receipts from what we're talking about. So when we say that we're here because of the same reasons that Julian Assange is fighting for, it's because we are. Like, we're directly being affected by this lack of protection towards the First Amendment. And I find myself hearing the same, hesitancy from a lot of the activist community here in not just Los Angeles, but all over the United States, where they don't understand why Julian Assange is so important, why press freedoms are so important. And I'm telling you, because we were the ones that were covering Echo Park. As Glory mentioned, we were also covering the protests all last year. We cover on the ground situations, on the ground issues. We cover state issues, local issues, and also international issues. And we are growing and growing. If we are taken down by YouTube, by big tech, by this merge with big tech and our government, with this merge of these corporations in big tech with our government, that is fascism. We are being attacked in this cryptic fascism that is so difficult for many to spot, because it doesn't come in a Klan suit. It doesn't come with a hood, and it doesn't come with a Trump hat. It comes via the national security state and the military-industrial complex, the CIA and the intelligence agencies. That's what's coming after us as journalists. And the real journalists are the ones being censored. You're not going to see mainstream media be censored when they spread infactual information. Russiagate, they spent the last 5 years talking about that, and they came out with zero proof of anything. Now they're saying that's an issue all over again. It's not the truth they care about. It is about crushing the truth and crushing dissent. And that's what they care about. And that's why they're coming after us, after anybody that's actually doing journalism. So when I talk to an activist and they tell me that their biggest issue is housing, or their biggest issue is Medicare for all, or their biggest issue is the Green New Deal, or we need to have environmental protections, I stand with everybody on that. I believe that those issues are super important. But we will never get to any of those issues if we don't have a press that is fair and free, that is advocating on those issues, that is talking to people that are getting evicted, just like we were a few days ago, that is actually paying attention to what's most important the working class and their struggle. The abuse is done not only by the, the CHP or the LAPD, but their parents in the national security state. It's all the same. And let me connect it for you. A couple days ago, a journalist who does videos for Soapbox, which is Russian state propaganda, was visited by the California Highway Patrol. And when he was visited, he didn't realize exactly what was going on. And then come to find out it was for a tweet that was critical of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's response regarding the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And that is a verified thing. You guys can check it out. The CHP was instructed by the Capitol Police to go and actually figure out what that person was doing because the tweet was seen as violent. On that same day, we had a Ted Cruz tweet, bring in the FBI to someone else's house. And previously, a lot of congressional legislators have said that they experienced so much violence that day on January 6th, that it was violent, what happened, and I'm not going to deny that the people who actually were violent should be prosecuted, but what I'm not going to say is that it was something that wasn't intentionally abused to pass draconian measures that are now directly affecting journalists, activists on the left as well as on the right. This was never about going after right-wingers, it was about going after dissent. So if the California Highway Patrol is getting instructions from the Capitol Police and is making Twitter give off your private information, that is a problem. That means that anything you tweet, anything you say on social media is now not only under a microscope, but it's fair game for you to have the police knocking at your door. That is the definition of a police state. That is the definition of this infringement of fascism into our lives. And that is exactly what Julian Assange was talking about even before the release of the cables, even before he was arrested and detained. This is what we've been talking about all along. These issues are coming to a breaking point. And when I say we are all Julian Assange, I mean we are all Julian Assange. I mean, if we are all being censored and getting the police coming to our homes or getting watched or getting, all these rights, these First Amendment rights, our civil liberties being completely just trampled on, then we are all truly Julian Assange. And if he goes down, all of us will go down with him. And we are already seeing that happen. So that's why we're here. That's why Pasta and I are continuing to say, fuck censorship, because tomorrow we're gonna let CNN know, we're gonna let the mainstream media know that they are not doing their jobs, because journalists were supposed to be the watchers. They're supposed to look at what the government's doing and make sure they are not abusing their power. And that is no longer the case. That is no longer the case. It hasn't been for a very long time. So if we're not there to hold them accountable, nobody else will be there to hold them accountable. So that's why we do what we do, because it's directly affecting every single issue we care about. It doesn't matter what issue you care about. Every single issue is directly affected by press freedoms and by the violation of our First Amendment rights and our ability to have dissent and our ability to speak. It matters to everything you want. And so our idea is for us to speak about this and to form a connection with everybody else that is hungry and desperate for a general strike, for direct action, because what we've seen is that we cannot rely on politicians to get the job done. Politicians will be politicians. It is up to the people, the 99%, to hold them to account. And that's why we need the press there, and that's why we fight for Julian Assange.
I'm just going to finish up briefly, really quick, so we can get to our chicken fajitas, and for us, we're having rice and beans and stuff because we're vegans. But did you guys know that I'm a vegan? By the way, our partner, 26 years old, Johnny Tsunami over here, right? The only reason why I'm saying this now, because I want to point something out, because really what Rachel was talking about with her daughter and getting educated and stuff, because I always ask why. Why are the elites, the 1%, whatever you want to call them, the predator class, There's nothing elite about this, but why are they doing this? 26 years right now. In the last 26 years, you out there, ladies and gentlemen, name a country that we have bombed, sanctioned, occupied. Just go ahead, start yelling them out. Go ahead.
Syria, shout out Vanessa Bailey.
Russia.
Honduras.
China.
Afghanistan.
Tanzania.
Nicaragua. India.
Rest in peace, John
Azerbaijan.
I don't know if Azerbaijan and Pakistan are really great answers and stuff. But Iran. But you hear what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen? Listen, there could be other reasons why, we can go down the rabbit hole, but for me, it's about Philadelphia.
1984.
It's about empire. It's about maintaining empire. That's why the censorship is here. That's why they did what they did to Julian, keeping in, because he was exposing the empire and what it does. George Washington. If freedom of speech is taken away, then the dumb and silent may be led like sheep to slaughter. In modern terms today, I don't want to say dumb and silent. I would say uneducated, programmed, and consumed. Because a lot of people don't really factor in the fact that everybody needs 2 or 3 jobs nowadays to keep food on the table, keep a roof over their heads. Their empire education, which is given to your daughter, is given to them. We talk about it all the time, Johnny Sue, what they're taught. You know what I'm saying? What we learned about the Black Panthers growing up is totally different than we discovered what they are. So that's why I always say to have this patience when we go out there and we talk to people and we let them know. We have to re-educate, reprogram, and open their eyes. Julian Assange is the perfect example of you open your mouth and you show what the empire does, not only overseas. They brought the empire tactics home, as we learned in the streets of Portland. Crazy, okay? That is what it's all about. Re-educating, reprogram, talking, getting there, and letting them know. And finally, the last quote. I know everybody will say Voltaire said, I don't agree with what you have to say, but I have the right to defend say it, or bullshit behind it. But he does have a good quote. It says, cherish those who seek the truth, but beware of those who find it. And I'm going to just leave us with that and thank Osla Faye from the Seattle Fams for sending me that quote. Ladies and gentlemen, you've taken the first step today by getting out here, and tomorrow we're going to go out to the streets and we're going to give these assholes hell. The fake press will meet the real press tomorrow. Thank you very much for coming. You're amazing. Q&A. You want to take a quick 5 minutes, let people get a plate of chicken fajitas, and we'll do. Guys, let's get a little chicken fajitas that should be set up, ready to rock and roll. Johnny and Sleepy Josh, did you guys want to say anything? You guys are cool? Let's give it up for Sleepy Josh and Johnny. People behind the scenes make this thing come to life. Thank you guys for coming out there, my loved ones, new people, thank you very much coming on down. Give yourselves a round of applause. Chicken fajitas will set up, and we'll do some Q&A in about 6-7 minutes, okay? Get a plate. Yes. Yeah, so many. Guys, go ahead and let's get a plate, please. Chicken fajitas. Everybody get a plate, then we'll do Q&A here.
How long you been vegan, sir?
What's that?
How long you been vegan?
10 months.
He doesn't feel any better, but he sure is broke.
I feel a lot better.
Was good, fam. Who in the chat? Shout out Mad Mom, Prop, Mona. Just because I've seen y'all in the chats.
The rest of it is back.
What do you mean tomorrow, Sam?
No, we can't see. We come this way. What's that?
So, guys, more than ever.
Come this way.
Wait, which way? That way? Okay. Hey guys, so more than ever, we really need your support because, we can't live stream for a week and on YouTube. And it's not about the money. It's about getting the information out there. It's about, you know, the fact that even with this demonetization, our channel was growing on YouTube and we wanted to throw that in their face. And now they're taking us down for a week for just interviewing Ryan Christian, because that's the reason. It's because we interviewed Ryan Christian. And it's crazy to me that that's happened, and we shouldn't have to censor ourselves. We didn't do anything. We weren't promoting anything. We were asking questions.
You know what's the funny thing is that Ryan Christian, every time, he's very safe. He says, "This is my opinion. This is my opinion. This is my opinion. This is my opinion." But there are facts. Like he talks about the facts that it's on the CDC website, and yet they still took it down. This is fucking ridiculous.
It's not about the truth for YouTube. It's about them keeping their narrative, and so you know. I want you guys to help us out on Rapfin with the super raids, but also we have Streamlabs and PayPal. We're going to continue doing what we do, but it does hurt us when we don't go on YouTube because it takes us out of the algorithm and it makes our viewership less. It really does hurt us in the long run, and it hurts everybody who doesn't get access to the information, especially on the day when we're talking about Julian Assange, right? So continue sharing our channel on YouTube, continue liking, subscribing, and all of that, but please go to Rockfin, because that's where they're not censoring us. That's where we're welcome. They're not censoring anybody, and that's what we're going to keep pushing for, because obviously we can't. Like, what are we supposed to do? Just talk about things that are popular only, that don't challenge the state narrative? I mean, that's not what we're going to do. We're not going to censor ourselves. We're not going to, you know, sorry, that's just not that's not real journalism. Then it might as well be MSNBC. Then I might as well go get a job at MSNBC if I'm going to be TYT. Exactly, TYT.
Hey yo, let me just make something clear. TYT is LA based,
and I've never seen them at a fucking protest.
I don't see them here.
They have millions of dollars.
I don't see Anna. I don't see Jank. I don't see that John dude that always makes me fall asleep.
I don't see any of your LA based babes either. Just throwing that out there.
No, there were some invitations that I put out to independent media based in LA, and although some of them responded, they declined. Yeah. I'm just stating facts. Like, I reached out to some of LA's independent media, and they're either not here or they declined ahead of time. Yeah. But I mean, big ups to the people that did come.
Tomorrow should be a really fun day.
Yeah, no. Tomorrow's gonna be great. Tomorrow's gonna be great because we're gonna be in Hollywood and stuff. And there's gonna be a lot of people. And because it's in front of the CNN in Hollywood, I have some unfinished business there, so looking forward to protesting there.
What
I'm dead
unfinished
ass.
business?
They set up a skirmish line right before CNN.
Right there was then in the middle
It's
of May.
like as we were marching up to CNN.
That was in May?
That's no, like last Saturday.
Last Saturday. Okay.
What?
You know you're live, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know what you were doing. That's hilarious.
No, we're
Okay, because it looked like you were doing your hair.
You want to come in here? Who, me?
Both of you.
Do the questions first because they're still setting up.
you come. All right, guys. We're about to do a Q&A.
If we can have our panel members up here, they're not ready with the buffet yet, so we're going to do our questions right now.
Right now.
Yeah, we'll just do them all. We'll just do all the way back.
Is the MCSC section? That's what it is.
It is.
Shout out MCSC Network. We're all members. Yep.
Hey, could we maybe get a pitcher of water up here? I wasn't in this.
All right, guys, we're going to need your help with some of the questions and stuff. You know what I'm saying? I know there's not a lot of people here, whatnot, but we are live streaming. We are taping it, so we definitely need your help with some questions. So if you got a question, stand up, and we will get your question. Hold on, come right over here real quick and ask the question. Then sit your ass down.
Hi, I'm Franklin. I just need you guys to confirm if Raytheon is painting their bombs like rainbows. See? Are they making their bombs, you know, intersectional? Equal opportunity bombs.
I actually, fun fact, I visited.
Yes, you can give the microphone.
So there's a Raytheon and Boeing complex right next to LAX, and I visited there to hang up supplies around there for April 5th because that Monday, this past Monday, marked the 11-year anniversary since the release of Collateral Murder. For those of you not familiar with that video, it's basically the now notorious video of Boeing Apache helicopter going around in the suburbs of Baghdad in 2007 and gunning down innocent civilians along with 2 Reuters journalists.
Thank you for that question. And no, I hear actually that they're going to be painting it with stars, as well as the Stars and Stripes, because I don't know if you heard or read in the LA Times the other day that it is going to be one of the 3 in the country centers for Space Force. So, Pasta and Fiorella know quite well, we do every year a Peace Week. I'm from San Pedro, from our LA commercial harbor that 5 or 6 years ago was turned into a pro-war party harbor with Fleet Week. So we started Peace Week. And so it's every Labor Day. We will be going, if you all aren't organizing it first, we'll hop on with yours, hop on with ours, but we're going to be doing a military industrial complex tour, kind of like we did the anti-fascist tour in San Pedro, looking at all of the World War II memorials and declaring them Antifa. And also in the LA area, there's the toxic tour that takes the tour around Wilmington and the port and shows the toxicity. We're going to be showing the toxicity of war and going around to all of those sites.
I also want to say something to that point right there, because this is very important. I saw a tweet not too long ago talking about the rainbows, as far as on, you know, we've all seen the meme, I think Fiorella has it on her Twitter, where it's got Democratic Party, it's a regular jet, Republican Party regular jet, Democratic Party, it has the rainbows, Black Lives Matter on the plane, the whole 9 yards, but they're still dropping bombs. I remember a tweet I saw not too long ago, and it really kind of plays into the trap game. What a fresh air it is that General Lloyd Austin is now the Secretary of Defense, and we have the most diversified cabinet in the Pentagon ever.
Identity politics.
Say that again?
Identity politics.
It's very important. It's very hard because it's a trap. Because when you try to talk out against this, I mean, literally, what do they think, that the bombs are going to come out and hug you to death and what now that we have a more diversified cabinet over there? General Lloyd Austin was sitting on the board of fucking Raytheon when they had to give him permission to have the position, ladies and gentlemen. And guess who just got a nice little weapons deal and what's going on? Raytheon, right? So, it is a trap thing. We have to find ways to talk out against it and say, listen, despite the fact that the cabinet is diversified or not, it doesn't neglect the point, it doesn't subtract from the point that we are still dropping bombs. And a person like General Lloyd Austin, who was sitting on the board of Raytheon, kind of has a conflict of interest for that position, don't you think? So we do have to find ways and not be able to get trapped and talk back against that. We talk a lot about the activists that we know that will bring those kind of points up, but it's not relevant. We're dropping bombs. It doesn't make a difference what that person is, what religion that person is. A war hawk and a warmonger is a warmonger.
More intersectional fascism. More.
Who else has a question? Come on up, Conrad. Conrad, I need you to face that pretty camera when you come up here, though, too, as well.
Hello, I was wondering if you could recommend, if you had like recommended resources. I'm trying to look for places to read more and learn more.
About what?
Lord Jones.
About everything we've talked about today. I'm really new, so I just want to learn more.
Yeah, I got it.
Check out the combo guy.
Well, you know, obviously, Combo Couch, MCSC Network, and Slow News Day are pretty amazing. But I also highly recommend Whitney Webb. She does deep dives on the daily. She writes for a website called Unlimited Hangout, amazing resource to find out about technology. She broke through on Jeffrey Epstein reporting, intelligence agencies, did a whole series on Operation Warp Speed and all the nitty gritty on that, and just anything surveillance related. Whitney Webb's amazing on that. I also highly recommend Vanessa Beeley, who does amazing reporting on the ground in Syria. Literally, we've done live streams with her where there were bombs falling a couple miles away from her place. And then Eva Bartlett as well, activist who put her body on the line to protect Palestinian farmers and Palestinian fishermen. And she's now doing reporting on the shelling of Donbass in Ukraine. Also recommend The Last American Vagabond, who is Google's most wanted, and does tons of good reporting on that. And yeah, that's all I can think of for now.
If you'd like to be caught up to speed on what's going on with Julian Assange specifically, there's a number of different people that have done fantastic reporting, but if you go to shadowproof.com, Kevin Gostola, the co-founder, managing editor there, has been, he's put out probably some of the more like concise, accurate, and then consistent as this thing has gone on. Highly recommend that. Yeah, I was gonna say there's a gentleman out of the UK named Mohammed El-Mazi, who has several columns in different outlets, but his website is theinterregnum.com, I hope. I didn't know if it was a com or an org or, yeah. Yeah, I was getting there. I was.
We don't like lists.
Yeah, I hate this. I do. No, but Consortium News. The outlet that Robert Perry founded, Joe Lauria is now managing editor. They're incredible. I co-host a thing called the Free Assange Vigil, and for the last 92 weeks in a row, we've been doing a weekly something, and then now for the last like year, twice weekly live stream where we'll bring on people that are connected to the case or intimately familiar with the case, or themselves are whistleblowers or targeted journalists, or in the case of like Ray McGovern or Bill Binney, former members of the national security state who have now, in Bill Binney's case, he's a whistleblower. In Ray McGovern's case, he retired after 27 years at the Russia desk and went, wait a minute, this is madness. So he started an outlet called Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity, VIPS. They formed in 2003. They put out, their first thing was a memo about the Iraq War, about what was going to happen if they actually went through with this ridiculous, preposterous notion. And from that point on, they've been incredibly accurate. They have some of the most detailed, sourced, and comprehensive debunkings of the Russiagate narrative. They have some of the most thorough and source debunkings of the smear that Julian Assange somehow worked with Russia to release consortium or what? VIPs, VIPS, Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity. Yeah. And look, really, I mean. Yeah, and RayMcGovern.com. He had all of the VIPs memos are available on Ray's website. Questions?
Wait, I wanted to
Or Plaza's got
Do you want to say something about that too?
Just because I see where you're coming from, can we all give Conrad a big round of applause? He's kind of new, you know what? He's just newer to the left, and you're on a lifelong journey of importance. I would say in general, war and what Julian Assange is trying to break the U.S. habit of. Code Pink, definitely. Look up the event we did 3 weeks ago, Cold War Truth Commission. Get that kind of historical, oh, I get it, why today analysis. And also I would say that not just the how we got here, but the el por qué, the why. Go look at countries that are being attacked by us, what they're saying. Venezuela analysis, anything out of Venezuela, listen to them. Anything out of Cuba, listen to them. So Granma, GRANMA.cu, right? Listen to them, not a...
Oh, and shout out to Mona for making the
Shout out to Mona, just for being Mona. Conrad, I just want to talk really briefly too as well. I'm not going to tell you the who, but I'm going to tell you a tactic that's kind of used to really spot what's going on. And then what the establishment left has been doing, and a lot of people have been playing into this, is called smear the messenger. In any situation, whether it be about elections, imperialism, homelessness, whatever, you should be able to talk to anybody about the topic itself. Fiorella has just recently challenged Benjamin Dixon to go on and debate her about the SB 202 bill out of Georgia. But what they constantly try to do is smear the person. Why? They can't merit upon the actual issue itself. We recently did an interview with Reverend Annie Chambers. Woo! Amazing. She was a Black Panther that once worked with the Ku Klux Klan to get checks for people in poverty in Nevada years and years and years ago. And I'm not going to say advocate for anybody's ideology, but when it comes to the issue, anybody who's willing to debate the issue, willing to debate a bill, willing to debate a situation, is someone you want to pay attention to what they're saying, actually than somebody who comes along and says, don't talk to that person, don't listen to Tucker Carlson, he's a racist, don't talk to this person, he's a Nazi. So look for the tactics, because we got a lot of young civilian journalists that are coming up that will get their asses out with a camera and a microphone to events or to protests that the mainstream media just won't go to, baby. So that is the thing I say to look for. Look at the smear tactics. Our good friend Maria Estrada, she'll have great things to say about this bill, that topic, that situation, but they'll try to smear her, smear her, smear her. She's an anti-Semite, you can't listen to her. She's a racist, you can't listen to her. Watch the tactic, because that's what they're doing. And that's a very anti-intellectual tactic that they're implying, so that we don't talk about the issues at hand.
Question.
You got any questions? No, yes, Amber, come on. By the way, we do have fajitas ready when we're done. No, they said we got it. Not fake news.
Thank you, sir. My name is Amber King. I'm with Roar Media, and I have a couple questions for you guys. Little open-ended, 2 parts. First, I want to talk about how many of our amendment rights are under attack right now.
All of them.
How we can talk to people who we may not ideologically agree with. And secondly, how can independent media support upcoming whistleblowers, people like William Thompson, who have not been able to be brought forward in Congress?
Pete, you want to get on that? You haven't spoken yet.
Yeah.
Well, God, there's just so many. How do we talk to people who we don't disagree with? We don't make them out to be idiots. We don't go out there in an attempt to mock them for some sort of cheap entertainment. What we do is we relate to them. on a working people's level, because the vast majority of people, whether they're a Republican, a Democrat, or disaffected, independents, or non-political, they are all going through what we're going through. No matter what you believe of this pandemic, whether it's a pandemic or not, the fact is there is economic disarray. There's a lot of restlessness, anxiety. A lot of people feel left out and abandoned. So you have to realize that we're all going through this experience, and understand how you relate to somebody is understanding their struggle and understanding where they're coming from. So when you're talking to an activist, for instance, that is an activist for homeless issues because they don't have a home, they're going to have a different perspective than somebody who is housed. And so you just have to connect the dots as to say that every single thing that we're experiencing now is a result of our mismanaged government and the result of having propagandists propped up as journalists, of having lies propped up as truth, and truth smeared as disinformation. And so once you relate to somebody in that way, you know, I have done it many times. I've talked to Republicans about how the fact that I don't trust these politicians, and how, you know, our civil rights, whether it's your First Amendment right, your Second Amendment right, anything you actually value is coming under attack, not because you're necessarily a danger, but because they don't want us to talk to each other. And most people agree that they don't want this divisiveness to continue. They want to be able to live their lives and not have to hate the person on the other team. But it is the mainstream media, along with politicians, that have put us against another. So when you're talking to somebody, you have to come with the truth, because the truth it's what comes out when you're talking to somebody. If somebody's disingenuous, people can feel that, even if they don't say it right away. So I think one of the things we have to lead with is the truth and consistency in the truth. If I'm against law enforcement abusing people who I agree ideologically with me, I'm also against law enforcement abusing people who do not agree ideologically with me. And if you're consistent in your views, that'll show through above so many other things.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Fee more or less when it comes to the issue of talking to people we disagree with, and especially because one thing about talking to people on the right or on the left or anywhere that we disagree with is you maintain like a sort of strength of character and a firmness in your position, so that way you're not really compromising, you're not really giving away any of your positions. You're just talking to them and trying to really educate them in a way that will get them to learn, because something like, you know, racism or sexism or overall ignorance, that's something that's taught through this system. So ultimately it's something that can be unlearned if you can really sit down or talk with someone in person and just plant those seeds. Because because even if your conversation isn't the best, you still planted a seed, and you don't know where that'll end up. And it's not going to end up perfect all the time. It's not. I can tell you from personal experience, it's not. But it's important that you do it, and it's imperative that you do it, and just kind of approach it from a fair point of openness, to the point where, like, listen, I disagree with you, but I want to get shit done. So you need to learn, like, we can learn together, we can work together on this, and then eventually, through, you know, some tedious work, you can get it done. And then to address the second part of Amber's question about how can we help uplift whistleblowers, there's so many. There really is. And I guess the greatest thing you can do is just hear their story and try to amplify it in any way you can, and just talk to them and hear them out and listen to them and kind of raise the alarm on their case. And you're not going to be able to do that with every whistleblower, because there is so many. Me and Steve talked to an Australian whistleblower, David McBride, who helped expose Australian war crimes, and he's facing a case for that. And in a single conversation we had with David McBride, he revealed to us about 4 or 5 more whistleblowers that were exposing stuff like abuses in Australian hospitals and abuses of Australian officials in mental health wards for autistic people. So there's so many people out there, and the best you can do is just keep searching for it, keep trying to amplify them in any way you can, and kind of accepting the fact that there's no way that you can't, but just try to do your best anyways, or at least that's how I approach it, because every little amplification they can get to their story counts, and every little donation or share of their story they can get makes a difference, and it adds up in the end.
I believe that you deserve agency. I believe that you deserve self-determination. I believe that on the big picture things, we're probably a lot more alike than we'll ever be different. And so all I ask from people is the opportunity to find out where we can meet each other after you help me secure some press freedom. But seriously, I do always try to meet people where they are, but you have to find out where people are in order to do that. And so, Jesus, man.
Assange a patriot. He's Australian.
Yeah, he's Australian. It's
He's a world patriot.
You know, what's you want to like go smoke some weed later and talk about patriotism? We can define what that means, and then what it means in the term of like globe and how that. Yeah, sure, we can do that. We can. It's California. It's legal.
For people who don't know.
For people who don't know, or maybe yeah. In terms of which I see, Ryan, and we're gonna take it's gonna be like. We got what, like a question, food, and then we'll come back for some more questions. Got you. In terms of whistleblowers and how do we do that? Whistleblowers need protection. They need to know that they're going to be secure before they go and put their life on the line, because if you've got serious shit and you're going to be a whistleblower, your life is immediately in danger. So what whistleblowers need are resources. Whistleblowers need an active community that is there when they need to be there, with funds, with lawyers, with safe houses, with bolt holes, with just 6 months of food. It's like that. I'm not trying to be funny or any of that. So like, it's like that, you know. The 9 times out of 10, if a whistleblower has a spouse, that spouse does not remain their spouse. Their relationship with their children becomes estranged. Like their lives, because of the way that governments and corporations treat whistleblowers. I'm gonna make that perfectly clear. Because of the way that governments and corporations treat whistleblowers, and because of the bought and lazy and afraid media, that's what happens to these whistleblowers. In a normal, civilized society, we would all go, oh, holy shit, that happened? Like, we need to stop that. How could that have been happening? Why did whoever's responsible for this is going to prison, right? That's what would happen if we didn't live in a fucking cartoon, but we live in a fucking cartoon. And so our whistleblowers are treated like the worst human beings on the planet, while the people responsible for their treatment are largely patting themselves on the back and enriching themselves and enriching their friends. I know we got to do the thing, so I'm going to pass but yeah, I hope that.
And the cartoon is called Swines Before Pearls. 30 seconds. You talked about amendments. I'm not, all of them, right? But there's in the preamble of the Constitution, I always think about, the many people will talk about provide for the common defense, and it gives them, therefore military, that's the only purpose of government. Right after provide for the common defense is promote the general welfare. That's what we do not focus on. And so I would say that is one of the leading things in our governing structure that we are abusing, is we need to promote this common, general welfare. And then just a quick motto of mine to help have this inclusion of all people, all sides. If you're not lying, you're telling the truth. I'll listen to you.
Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go get some fajitas, come back, and you're going to do your question, and then you're going to do your question, and if anybody else has a question. But right now, I know my crew is they're okay, because I fed them beautiful breakfast, vegan burritos and avocado toast with this little, kind of potato, and, no, okay, I don't want to get into it. But everybody go ahead and grab a plate right now. Let's get some fajitas. Please, ladies and gentlemen, there's going to be plenty there. Get a nice big plate, come on back, and we will start off with you, my dear, and then we'll get to you, my friend, my paisan over there. When they arrested you, I was outside of that jail screaming, "Free my man!" Over there. So please, go get a plate right now and come on back and we'll have some fun.
Okay, there's so many questions.
You gotta get a plate. Did you eat already?
There's something that guys in front of me. I'll go.
Gotcha.
But I just want to kind of point it there. I remember when I was at the Ambassador Hotel the day night, because I had been a good representative.
I know. I was seeing if I could just shut it off, but no.
Just lay it down.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I had worked on the Robert F. Kennedy in 1967 in the field, not anymore. So I've been campaigning for a long time. And I was we turned all of our precinct information in at the Ambassador Hotel, and I was in the kitchen and the shop.
Camera and mic, sir. You want me to turn it off? I can turn it off. If there's a private conversation.
No, yeah, you can leave it on if you want. If you want to give it on.
I don't care if you
John,
want
you
to
should hear
save
this though. She was in the kitchen when RFK got.
Came down the elevator from his suite. Okay, because Willie Brown, okay.
Yeah.
Jesse Underham.
Yeah.
Okay, they were really after Mexicans at that time, and the Delano thing and Cesar and all that. So, and we worked really hard. So that kind of blew my mind. Then some other field staff said, come to Chicago.
Yeah.
Well, first we went to Louisiana to work with Leon Carver, first black guy running for Congress.
Nice.
So then we went from there to Chicago, and then we all know what happened.
I know.
So pigs became very common, like you saw at the Chicago 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Abby Hoffman, they had pigs to represent the bosses. And
one note about Abby Hoffman, he was a degenerate gambler.
Oh no, I didn't know
My
that.
uncle used to run a book, and Abby was one of the guys.
Oh,
Gambled like a motherfucker. Sorry, I gotta tell you some inside New York Italian Jewish shit I know, you know what I'm saying?
Mafia.
Yeah.
Okay, so right now, what I want to come up and say, so I've been in
Eleanor?
Imelda, like Imelda Marcos, but the
all right, I have to see it written down before I can get it.
Imelda, I-M-E-L-D-A. Like the anti-mar. I only got one pair of shoes.
Gotcha.
But what I wanted to say was, we ain't got no more. If you want, like I was going around talking to my neighbors, because that's where you start. If you can't get your neighbors,
then you get nobody.
You can't get anybody.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So that's good practice, right? See,
great practice.
See if you can convince them.
Talking with people in your community.
Start there.
Yeah.
And if you can't do that, then
forget about it.
Go do your homework.
Then try to convince a stranger.
Then go pray.
Yeah.
But so I've never seen things. Yesterday when the CAP showed up at that guy's tab, I've never seen, it's really going fast now. We don't have it.
Acceleration.
It's wake the fuck up right now.
Yeah.
So if we're going to go in the street tomorrow, I mean, I've been to so many demonstrations. Who are the guys that are going to be the monitors?
Yeah.
Who's going to be directing? I mean, do we have those people already?
Yeah, I mean, we'll volunteer people in the crew. Probably as we're walking through the streets, I'll probably have the bullhorn probably most of the time.
A bullhorn is not the same as the guys that are for the cops.
Well, we'll just have people with yellow vests that will watch us and make sure that we're walking okay and then go up. We'll have a few monitors there with yellow vests.
Right.
We have yellow vests, so
okay, you do? Okay.
Oh, of course, we'll somebody in the group, like, they'll put the yellow vest on. More than likely, I think that it's like me and Lori will probably have time spending handing the microphone back and stuff. Steve, tomorrow we're just kind of talking about like the aesthetics where we go marching through the streets. Probably I was assuming that me and Gloria would have the bullhorn most of the time since we're the loud ones and the cheerleaders. And then we'll have some people with yellow vests monitoring to make sure that we don't get...
Is there a permit? Did we pull? Oh my God.
We're doing without permit.
How many people do you think are
60. 50, 60. Yeah.
On the street or on the sidewalk?
We've done this. We've done this before without permits so many times.
So we can't storm the gates, huh?
No. Washington, D.C., we got permits. L.A., we don't get permits.
You don't get velvet rope pasta?
You pretty much have to in DC.
In DC, you have no choice.
Okay. So I don't know who's the main. Okay, I don't care about that right now, but I do want monitors. Somebody who's on the outside, like keeping stay over the street or
we'll have
kind
that.
of directing.
Yeah. We have vests that we bring with us for that, and we're like, all right, who's going to do this? You guys, we've done so many of these protests before. So we understand exactly what not. And this is going to be a small, eclectic one. It always is. Unfortunately, this type of protest is not built on emotions. It's built on nuance, and nuance doesn't get people in the streets. Emotion does. Emotion will throw everybody in the fucking street.
Well, that's
this in this case.
But that's okay. So let's start getting together to Mayday. Let's start really the labor movement.
Yeah.
Everybody's all over here with all these other things, because if you don't have the First Amendment,
you have nothing.
The fathers knew freedom of speech is first, freedom of the press is first, because without that, none of your other constitutional rights, and they're trying to put the Constitution in place.
How do you want to phrase your question?
Okay, so my question is...
And I am all for giving you my information, talking, coordinating. I'll give you my personal number. You text me, you say what, and we'll trust me, we'll get into it. Because we're trying to figure out the same thing. How do we bring fucking people together? Because Julian Assange is kind of framed as this kind of right.
No, I know. I go on there. There's 325 white.
Yeah.
Consortium News 46.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the biggest. So the mainstream knows.
Yeah.
That we are a threat. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been. So you guys are being affected. So you gotta realize that, or else they wouldn't put. Okay, but so my question is, what kind of civil disobedience do you anticipate doing? That's my question.
Get some fajitas. Make sure you're giving me information.
I will.
I'm so glad that you yelled at Consortium News, because Joe Lauria is love him.
God.
He's great.
He is.
Is he Italian? I think. Yes.
There's meat in the bacon.
Who? Yeah, well, you do your best. That's it.
No, I know. I'm just telling you.
It's really tough.
We do our best. Listen, with the Chinese restaurant we went to in Chicago, I'm just put this right down here. We were at a Chinese restaurant in Chicago. I ordered this eggplant dish. Little fucking pieces of meat here. So I pushed it aside. What are you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? We're doing amazing. You know what I'm saying? All of us here. I am. I just got my belly. I'm starting to get my belly back under control because, you should have said something, you fucking hard on. Help me out over here, Carl. Jesus Christ, you call her Fifi, and now everybody's going crazy now. You see what you did?
No, but you were right about saying don't pick on people, because I kind of laid back off on ride on folks. But guys like my friend Larry now, he deleted your page because he thinks. Remember my idiot friend Larry Chavez?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
He thinks he's totally been into the Russian game thing, and now anybody who says he thinks Aaron Mate and Chris Hedges are lunatics. Just to give you an idea. So it's like, I don't even talk to him anymore.
What are you drinking there?
Because he's talking about Joe Biden.
IPA?
Pasta, can you ask them for chips and salsa, and can I get a Bloody Mary?
Whatever you want.
Chips are there. Let me get your guys' drinks.
I don't know if I was gonna have another one, but I don't want my friends to drink alone. Oh, what do you want? You want a Bloody Mary? And Elysium? You guys are good.
I'm good.
Carl,
Thank you, Carl.
you're beautiful. Wait a second. How did you make this money, you capitalist piece of shit, you? You banker. You ever see the movie, what was it, The Big Short? He with big Brad Pitts in England? But either you're a banker or a criminal, so either way, fuck off.
Plant the flag. Not flag.
You would know.
I was working on my own, huh? They foreclosed my house.
No.
How many people? He's like, I didn't
Let's be honest. Let's be honest. They're past their prime.
So I stopped paying it, so they tried to, foreclose on me.
What about I don't judge. But are there black peppers?
And then we're having a conversation about my loan for $50,000. And basically, they didn't give me the same opportunity to buy my own loan. All for that. So basically handed our homes away. International banks. So they're having kids sign up on people's names. But don't work with the company. So like the deeds were all in the electronic database in Delaware. It's not that's when I started back in 2008. That's when I realized I bought it's just so bad. When you hear certain things now, and I watched your show, and I've heard some of the things you guys have to say, I know you're my friends, but it's like, if I didn't know you guys, and I've heard some of those things, it would be like, I don't know. I know you're like, let's call it, you take your profession seriously. So this is the sensationalism, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so, I mean, because you know, you can tell them
Most of people just have it after. Like the laws that they're trying to pass now. Like I remember a few years ago, I was like very like, oh, people shouldn't have guns.
yeah, no, yes.
And now I'm like,
No. They are, yeah.
I brought one of the
Shot, Carl?
What's that?
You been shot?
I know someone, yeah. Well, my friends take
I brought a Kalinsky shirt.
what was in this glass?
I already got the on it.
Oh, okay.
What's her name?
Denora?
Nora. Yeah, she's getting me another Elysium. Thank you so much.
great work. You're right. The biggest thing right now is we lose this
It's over.
propaganda.
All we gotta do is take our guns and we're done. And I'm not even a gun cop.
It's getting scary. What do you think? You think it's about that? She's not a service constantly.
I don't know, dude.
That's why they have one more just a constant like distraction of service. At least with Biden like being senile, they got locked away. You know what I mean? There's not a constant.
I mean, he literally is passing like super draconian shit that wouldn't have necessarily happened that quickly with Trump. But you're right that people aren't. It's a double-edged sword. People aren't hyper-focused on him, so they're not opposing him, except us, you know.
Right, because the people with lizard brains that have Trump derangement syndrome, you know, like they're just like, I feel like they Trump and they can't do anything
Guys,
Yeah.
tonight,
Well, if you meet these songs, you know how to get
Nobody Meatloaf from, yeah.
Because I just can't.
From, what you would call it? Let's do the time. We're doing the legend. Let's do the time one. Do the time war.
Picture we can't. Oh yeah, you are right. Yeah, exactly. What's Tulsi doing anyway?
Sorry.
She's doing her show. She's got a YouTube show, right?
Well, it's locals and.
Is she gonna run again?
No. That is a Democrat.
I got you guys here. Yeah, that was a Democrat, exactly. She might be better off swinging as like liberal Republicans.
Libertarian, some people say, some people is Republican.
Yeah. Do you notice that she went in? That really twisted me up.
Because she gave him the time and the space and stuff, and there was also an emotional connection with Hunter. Not Hunter, Bo. Jai told me, like, fucking Biden would call and say, hey, what's going on? Is there any more of that toffee and stuff? And they would talk about Bo and shit. She had an emotional connection.
That makes sense, okay.
And that really fucked with her.
That sheds some light on it.
Yeah. Like Jai told me, like straight up, like Joe Biden would call the fucking house.
Alright. Maybe she thought he was going to plug her too.
Maybe he thought that she would be fair.
What's her mind here? She would have been a good. Let me get some guy right here. I mean, shut the bullets. So you guys still over in Pasadena?
Oh yeah.
Are you still over there?
I'm trying to do the combo cuts as much as we can. I mean, the YouTube censorship is no fucking joke. They took away a third of our fucking salary, and they keep doubling down on bullshit. But you know, I mean, hopefully with this whole how much money it's going to take. There's a guy out of Kentucky representing a bunch of libertarians, and they're going to talk about crowdfunding and raising money for that because they know YouTube lawyers have millions of dollars. Let's get this rolling.
Well, the deep fakes is something I'm going to get nervous about here.
Yes.
It's so good. The video looks so good.
Yep. Tom Cruise, I know.
If we can get our panel members please up to the table for our last two questions. Panel members, please report to your spot on the table. We have a couple questions.
You can bring your Bloody Mary. I'm bringing my beer.
Good luck with that, kids.
Thank you.
Great seeing you both, and you, Johnny, too. All three. The trio.
Salud. Let's get a quick toast. Salud. Great to see you, Carl.
Fighting the fight every day so I can chill on the beach in Hawaii. I just gotta figure out a way to be an activist on another country.
I'll talk to the bosses of that, and Fee will handle that. I'm the Italian grandma, so I just do it.
He just makes everyone.
I like your shirt.
That's it.
That's his goal.
Mangiare.
There's a lot of nice food today.
How much time do I
He
have?
cooks really good. You've got 3 hours. Go.
All right, do we have the thing on stuff?
So right over here, and please tell your name into the camera, ask the question, and then we'll go. And you're up next, my friend.
Hi, my name is Ms. Verdugo. I have one question because I thought that I was coming to a meeting of people who are sick and tired and woke up with cops going to people's houses. It's just getting in our face worse and worse. So my question is, what kind of civil disobedience will we be doing? What are we planning for? And can we come to a consensus about that? And the other thing I will say is the farm workers under Cesar Chavez had the Teatro Campesino of activists and organizers and comedians, and they would go out in the field at 4 a.m. and do the farm worker, pick the grapes, and then, but they were just young kids. They were homeless kids that needed a place to stay, something to eat. Well, what happened? If you said huelga in the field, you would be arrested because the growers had a gag order on you not to speak. And the farm workers, the goons would come with their billy clubs and their baseball bats to intimidate the farm workers from speaking to the organizers. And when the kids were there, they saw the farm workers, ¿Y qué pasa? Tráelo. And they got right back in their faces to the goons, and they weren't intimidated. And what the organizers saw was, wow, they got the pushback. We got to wake up. We got to start pushing back. We don't have any more time. The things that I'm seeing now are starting to speed up more and more. If we don't, could you bring me my piece of paper? I just want to say one thing that Martin Luther King said.
Welcome means strike, right?
Huelga means strike. No one really knows why they are alive until they know what they're here, what they'll die for. And a man who won't die for something is not fit to live. I'm at that point. I'm going to the street tomorrow, and I don't care what the cops say. If we're going to lay down in the middle of the intersection, we got to get people. We can't do nasty things, but we have to get people motivated, inspired. Power to the people.
Thank you, Imelda. And yes, I share the sentiment. Same thing that it's this acceleration that these. My good friend Steve Boykin talks about all the time. is upon us, and things are just going too fast. And I think a lot of us say that it's past the point of no return over now. Right now, we've gone past the point of like civil disobedience and whatnot. So I mean, I share your sentiment.
They start kicking in your door tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly, and they do that, right? We talked about the situation where somebody coming, California Highway Patrol shows at somebody's door for a freaking tweet or a reply to the tweet. Not even a tweet, a reply to the tweet. And yeah, I mean, what we're gonna do tomorrow.
Israel and see what happens.
Did you hear the fact that we were suspended today? All right. Well, that's the thing. We also did so. When you talk about criticizing Israel, just question Israel. That's not even criticize. Question the government.
If we don't have speech, we don't have anything else. That's why the founding fathers put freedom of speech.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. So tomorrow is that time when we will push it to the limit. You know what I'm saying? We will get out in the street. We will do what we have to do to let our voices be heard, to let the people know.
And what happens when we get arrested?
Then we make Martin Luther King Jr. happy up there, right?
Well, getting arrested is not getting, there's worse than death.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And what was the quote? A man not worth fighting for something, not willing to die for something is not even worth living. Ditto. It's not fit to live. And I feel that way. I really do. That's why we started the Fuck Censorship movement. That's why these people push so hard for Julian Assange.
When I got arrested in 1968, after Bobby Kennedy got assassinated, they put Hubert Humphrey nominated by the Democrats.
Absolutely.
I was at the first demonstration in San Diego, and I said, okay, let's go. Fuck the pigs! Fuck the pigs!
There you go.
The first, 1968.
Yeah. Listen.
They go, we're going to start right here.
Yeah. Imelda, I share your sentiment, and I'm ready to do it tomorrow. At the end of the day, I'm willing to go to jail to fight for mine and your freedom of speech, and I will continue to do that way. I think a lot of people up here feel the same way. So yes, that's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure we try to abide all the traffic regulations, whatnot, but we're going to get into the street, and we're going to let them know what's what. And if whatever happens to us, what happens? I don't know if we're going to lay down. We'll see what happens.
Talk about that on a live stream anyway.
Sorry. Let me pass the microphone over right now and stuff before I get out of here, and see if Melda's getting me in trouble.
That's not something that anybody should be talking about on live stream. But we could have that conversation later. Yeah. There's a lot of other people at this meeting. Dig. All good.
You had a question?
Anthony Mercado.
Anthony Mercado.
Into that camera behind you, please.
Hello, I just had a couple of quick questions. So pertaining to Assange, I don't know, kind of a dumb question, but so how were they able to drag him out of the Ecuadorian embassy, and how they, how is it right, but how are they able to do that? I mean, the Ecuadorian embassy, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I know how. They, the United States government paid the Ecuadorian government billions of dollars in aid so that they would get rid of Assange.
Yeah.
Well, basically what...
Use the microphone.
Yeah, Glory's good. And
Thank you, Anthony.
And there's like no dumb questions.
Yeah, no. Well, pretty much it was done through a bribe, but basically Ecuador granted Assange asylum as he was fleeing from the prospect of extradition to the U.S. following sexual assault charges from Sweden, which were dropped because there was no evidence for them. It was something that was pushed by the CIA and thoroughly debunked by Nils Melzer, who's a UN special reporter on torture. But basically, the president of Ecuador at the time, Lenin Moreno, who's more neoliberal inclined, and yeah, that's the easiest way to explain him in short, was he was a neoliberal president of Ecuador. And puppet. Yeah, a puppet of Western imperialism, pretty much, to put it in more crass words. But Yeah, he came in, and one of the things that happened was Ecuador received a $4.6 billion loan from the IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund, and it's another arm of the West and kind of the Western Empire. And upon receiving that loan, it was then when British police were allowed to enter the Ecuadorian embassy and drag Julian Assange out physically and take him to Hellmarsh prison in London, where he's been for the past 2 years on tomorrow. Yeah.
Just there's a little bit more on top of that too, because Ecuadorian President Rafael Correa gave him Ecuadorian citizenship, I think in 2012. And then when the puppet Moreno was being told you have to get rid of Julian Assange, after he was already aware that this security company, UC Global, was spying on everyone in the Ecuadorian embassy. After 10 Democrats wrote an open letter to Lenin Moreno, like demanding that they be able to get Julian Assange. So Moreno himself and a couple of people in his cabinet, without any due process, removed Julian's Ecuadorian citizenship. And then tomorrow, the April 11th, that's when on a supposed bail violation, British police were able to go in and illegally and violently drag him out. And I do say illegally for a number of reasons. One, because the investigation in Sweden was, there was it dropped 3 times, yes, but it was also heavily, I guess, directed, managed by the CIA and by the United Kingdom's government. There's correspondence between the Crown Prosecutorial Service and the Swedish police, and it's the UK government demanding that Sweden don't get cold feet, don't drop this investigation. No, you can't file charges. Don't file charges. If you file charges, they're gonna find out we made this shit up. But keep the investigation open so that there's this legal limbo. And that's what they were able to successfully do for 7.5 years. And then finally, Trump's Department of Justice was able to get some witness testimony from 2 paid FBI informants, one of whom is from Iceland, a guy named Sigurd Thordarson, who has several aliases, one of them being teenager, which is super gross because in Iceland he was convicted of being a pedophile. Not once, not twice, but like 4 or 5 times. He was also found to be a sociopath by Icelandic health ministers. This is the FBI's star witness. Star witness. And then the other witness in this indictment is a guy named Hector Monsegur, who went by the alias Sabu, who was the FBI paid snitch who formulated some high-profile hacks and sent some very, very, very intelligent, gifted, and unfortunate activists to prison for a very long time. I hope that answers your question.
I have a follow-up.
Yeah?
How was the UN and Nestle involved?
We kind of got to get out of here, but I'll be happy. No, I'm serious. Like we're kind of on, but no, yeah.
Okay. Just about Ecuador, and I had mentioned Code Pink before. Medea Benjamin is down right now with an election observer delegation in Ecuador for the elections. And so, but just so interesting, she just posted this several hours ago, The progressive candidate, Andres Arauz, he is forbidden from using the voice or the image of Rafael Correa, the former Ecuadorian president, because apparently Rafael Correa has psychic influence over the people. So talk about suppression of speech. You can't even talk about, you know, God forbid you say the words Fidel Castro anywhere in the United States of America. So yeah.
Psychic influence.
I also want to point out, Anthony, too, that Lenin Moreno, who's the president right now, campaigned as a progressive. Yes. Like, he really campaigned the same policies as Rafael Correa, who was there before, same party, whatnot. But as soon as he got into office, about face, here comes the deal. And I also just want to point out lastly, too, as well, before we get to our last question, that the people of Ecuador, the way they took to the streets when Julian was given up, was really inspiring. And I'd like to see that emulated over here. If the people of Ecuador can get on the street, their butts in the streets, Americans need to do it, to emulate the same way. Get your asses out there. Come up, my dear. Sorry. Rachel has to get to another appointment, so after your question, come up first. She's going to answer first, pass the mic, and then go. And we want to give Rachel a round of applause. Here you go.
We do gotta get fast.
Yeah. We were like, this is the last question.
It's just a brief question, and then I wanted to say a couple of things. My name is Lena. I'm with the LaRouche organization.
Hey.
And we...
Put it close to your...
Oh, okay. Can you hear me with this mask?
Now we
I know
can.
I'm
Put the
supposed to-
microphone close.
Okay.
Right? Eat it.
So, the question that I wanted to ask is if your organization is having a lot of liaisons and collaboration, particularly with third world countries.
Yes.
Because it's important now because you have a phenomena where the third world countries are moving away from the West because the West has nothing to offer but guns and blackmail and the kind of stuff that Lenin Moreno was up against. I wanted to also congratulate the speakers here and the people here for your courage, because I know the kind of harassment and stuff you're probably going through. Lyndon LaRouche himself had his newspaper, New Solidarity, shut down, was put in jail. Several of his members were put in jail for 77 years and all kinds of crazy things for saying stuff that now, 30, 40 years later, is obvious. But the idea of the coincidence of the opposites, which is that you don't have to agree with the next person on every particular detail, but that you look for common interests, usually on a higher level, a higher level of understanding, and that based on that, even though you may have differences about particular issues, you can move things ahead. And I think that was communicated by a number of the speakers, and it's very important because, as somebody said, they're trying to divide people so that they don't collaborate on the basis of common interests. Yeah. The only other thing I would say quickly, and what one of the main reasons we wanted to be here, is we are on the brink, likely, of a superpower confrontation between the United States and Russia over Ukraine, and of course, the United States and China. The State Department and all of these people who are screaming about human rights don't give a damn about Hong Kong, Xinjiang, all the other people that they're supposedly crying crocodile tears for. They want to run regime change operations in China and Russia, as they have done in Syria, or no, they didn't succeed because Putin put his foot down. Yeah. But, you know, in Iraq and all these other places, and as I'm sure you know, it's not a Democrat versus Republican thing. They're all in. Yep. With the establishment, the corporate establishment, the military intelligence complex, there's not much industry going on, and the Five Eyes and everything. So that's mainly what I wanted to say, is that don't take on the cloak of being victims. The crazier they get in harassment and persecution is an indication that they're losing the fight. It's hard to, you know, think that way, to believe it. But they would not go to the lengths that they're going against dissident voices, against Assange, against Snowden, like they've done against LaRouche, like they're doing against so many other people in the world, if they were completely in control and confident that they could win.
Yeah.
And so we have to operate from the assumption that they're losing, that's why they're so desperate, and let's rally the forces with our difference, considering our differences, but on the common aim that we can beat these people forever.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what I wanted to say.
What was your name again?
Lena. I got a leaflet here on my remarks.
Please. You wanted to say something? You have a leaflet here in your remarks?
I've got a leaflet here from our Institute for today's events, which we're participating in all over the country. And anybody who'd like to get my contact information, and I'd like to get yours.
There we go.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I want to, Lena, just say, you know, when you were talking about finding that common ground, another Martin Luther King, just beautiful quote, to get to the common ground, you have to go to the higher ground. So find that commonality up there. And I think as objective conditions for human beings on planet Earth, you said we're all just animals trying to survive, as they all get worse, we're going to have to. When there's more water issues, when there's air issues, when there's land, you know, the more that hits more people, we're going to have to be doing that. You also, bless you, and I'll just say, the reason I'm leaving is in 5 minutes I have a meeting with Hondurans and Salvadorans about how to stop election fraud that's going to be happening in November again in Honduras. So bless you, and it's definitely, we're all in this together. And again, I would just steer you again to the Cold War Truth Commission, because you said exactly the thing. After World War II, all of the third world looked at, you know, the European powers, America, and say, you're nuts. We don't want to go be anything like you. We're going a different way, and we didn't allow them. And it turns out we were wrong. The way Lumumba wanted to go was right. The way Fidel has gone was right. The way all these people and leaders and that we crushed and overthrew, it was the right way. You take care of healthcare, you take care of education, you give people who need land, farmers, land. That's what I teach my kids. That's what we need here in America. So there's incredible solidarity. And so lastly, bless Putin and his call for this kind of global Cold War Truth Commission. He says, you want to talk, bring it. Let's talk about violence around the world and who has perpetrated it around the world. So we are really at the Cold War Truth Commission really pushing for that global truth telling. Bless the truth.
Yeah, thanks Rachel for coming.
Rachel!
Take care. Yeah. And to the earlier part of your question about countries in the global south, I really wanted to say that with something like We Are All Assange and with the movement to free Julian Assange, that is very much an international movement. We have events tomorrow all over the globe in every continent except for Antarctica, but 6 out of 7 continents.
Up, Antarctica!
Yeah, come on, penguins, what are you doing? But yeah, we're really growing something here, and it's important that every country stand up for Julian Assange, because that's what it's going to take to get such a high-profile political prisoner to be freed. And especially as well, when you think of it, WikiLeaks exposed acts of Western imperialism. They exposed the exploitation of countries in global south and in places like Africa especially. So that's where the struggles are intertwined there with trying to raise awareness of WikiLeaks and free Julian Assange and struggles in the global south as well. There's a lot of intertwinement there, and then also in the activism. Some of the most active people in this movement are Anons, and they are all over the world, literally. There's anonymous chapters all throughout Latin America. That's probably where they're biggest, actually. They're in Palestine, they're in Africa, they're in Europe, they're in Asia, they're in Hong Kong, they're everywhere. And they've helped immensely with the messaging of We Are All Assange. So that's something as well where our activism is also incredibly intertwined across borders. So that's something that we really do want to focus on, is a mass decentralized movement of international solidarity to just at least secure the freedom of Julian. And then from there, that's kind of the first step we have towards breaking down the door that is all of the empire's tools to suppress us.
Just real quick, because we do have to go. A lot of the people here I've met are huge immigrant rights activists. The direct cause of the mass issue of immigration is our imperialism, our regime change wars, our coups, our installing puppets in Central America, in the Northern Triangle. We've done this all over the world, but specifically what we're seeing in Latin America and what the Biden administration is trying to do to cover this up, to pretend that their cages are now influx facilities, is a whole PR campaign being perpetuated by the likes of people in our Congress, including the squad, including people like AOC, who have tried to say that it's different now, that mothers aren't being ripped away from their babies. It is still happening, believe it or not. Multiple reports contradict what is being said by the Biden administration. So we have to call these people out on their hypocrisy. If they said we're voting for Joe Biden to mitigate damage, that damage has only increased. Joe Biden has deported more immigrants than Donald Trump did in his first 45 days. That is a fact. If we're going to talk about these things, we have to be honest about them. Nothing has changed from the Trump administration to the Biden administration regarding immigration. And the key to understanding that is, of course, the imperialism that we have. And if we don't have journalists reporting on that, counteracting that narrative, it's not, people are never going to know. So that's one of the issues I think we need to also bring to the forefront in relation to Julian Assange, in relation to immigration, is direct imperialism is at its helm.
Yeah, real quick, sorry, did that completely backwards, and I apologize, boss. I do.
We'll talk about it later. He didn't have his breakfast.
You fucking snitch!
No. Fuck you. I didn't say shit.
Okay. Never mind then. But you would, yeah. Anyway, thank everybody for coming out. And when it comes to like international solidarity, this is what We Are All Assange is absolutely all about, because it's the United States that's seeking international jurisdiction over the press. It's the United States that is seeking to lock up an Australian citizen with a website registered out of Iceland, who was in the United Kingdom at the time, over something that they made up in Sweden, that they had to apply pressure on Ecuador in order to get done. There's no, I don't know. We are all Assange. I can't explain that any better. I'm sorry, Pasta. Here you go.
I'm going to just wrap it up and say yes. Thank you very much for that question, by the way, too, as well. And I think that, what's that? Yes, always. God. But let's just really to tell you, that comment is so just touches just something inside right now, because what we do, why we do what we do is so important. The United States, under any situation, has been able to bomb their way out of problems. That's all they've ever done since the creation of our country. We've gone to war, but now we can't do that anymore. We have China, we have Russia, and even Putin said an old quote, World War III will be fought with nuclear weapons. World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones, right? Yeah. And that is where we're at. I don't know who originally said it, fam, so please don't make fun of me. Putin. Einstein said it, and Putin repeated it, though. He did. I saw the interview where he repeated it. He did. I saw it. The words on the screen said that. But I mean, he's serious. I mean, that is where we are at. The United States has been able to bomb its way out of problems from the beginning of time. It's not going to be able to do that again. And that is where we are at right now. That is the desperation that we need to get out there in the streets, that we need to be vocal. We need to find a way to push back, because if we don't, we're going to cease to exist. If this particular event was being taken place in Yemen, they'd be worried about a bomb dropped off them. We have American exceptionalism where we're blinded, we're dumb, we're not paying attention, whatever you want to call it and stuff like that. But we do. We need to listen to what you're saying, we need to wake up, and we need to understand the threat that's in front of us. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming out. Give yourselves a round of applause. We'll see you tomorrow at noon, Sunset and Gower.
CBS Columbia Square in Hollywood.
What Glory said. Thank you so much. Tip your servers.
That's the...
Thank you guys. Thank you everybody.